The last section in this unit is rational number equations in context. So we may have fractions, decimals, we may have problems that have 2 steps, 3 steps, we may have to distribute, lots of different things going on here. So what we want to be careful of is that we translate the sentence or the problem into an equation correctly. So we'd want to make sure we're careful, think our way through that. And then once we've got the equation written down, then we want to solve the equation. So we do actually have to solve these, and we want to make sure that we show our work and our thinking. And remember the rules for writing answers for story problems. Remember, if the problem is written with fractions, we probably ought to write the answer as a fraction, but we get to choose the best way to write the answer. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So let's take a look at number 1. It says if I take a number and increase it by 5/14, I end up with 5 3/7. What is the number? So we're going to take a number, let's call it x, and we're going to increase it by 5/14. If we increase it by 5/14, that means we're going to add 5/14. And then it says you end up with, or the result is, or something like that. So if we end up with 5 3/7, we end up, or that it equals 5 3/7. So this right here would be the equation. Now how we go about solving that equation, that's kind of up to us. So here's what I'm going to do on this particular problem. I'm going to do x plus 5/14 equals, and I'm going to go ahead and change that into an improper fraction. So that would be 7 times 5 is 35 plus 3, so that's going to be 38/7. Then I'm going to subtract 5/14 from both sides. So you'll notice that those are going to undo each other. So I could just cross that off and move it to the other side. So I could just write something like that. And then we're going to get x is equal to, let's make those 14ths. So that means I'd have to double this. So if I double that, I'd end up with, 76, I believe. So 76 minus 5, so 76/14 minus 5/14 would be 71/14. Now we could, if we wanted to, we could leave it like this, because this particular problem was written with a mixed number. It might not be a bad idea to write it this way. So I'm going to write 71/14, or let's go ahead and change that. Let's see, 14 would go in there. Let's see, would that be 5? 5 would go in there, yep. You can do this on your calculator if you want, but if we put a 5 right here, that would be 70. There would be 1 left over. So that's going to be 5 and 1/14. 5 and 1/14. So either one of those would be totally okay. Fine with that. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. This one is talking about a product. So the product of a number and 3/2, or the product of 3/2 and a number, is 6 3/4. What is the number? So the product of 3/2 and a number. So we're going to be multiplying these. So I'm going to do 3/2 times the number, and I'm going to use x on this particular one. And then it says that product is 6 3/4. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a shortcut here. I'm going to change this to an improper fraction. So this is going to be 24. So this is going to be 27/4. Now there's the equation. If you wanted to write 3/2 x equals 6 3/4, that would be totally okay. Same thing either way. But then we're going to go through and we're going to solve this. So when we solve this, we've got 3/2 x equals 27/4. I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So if we multiply by the reciprocal, whoops, got to have a 2 on the top and a 3 on the bottom. Those cancel, so we end up with x over here. And then notice that we've got some cancellation that takes place right here. So 2 goes in here once, 2 goes in here twice, 3 goes in here once, 3 goes in here 9 times. So when we multiply those together, we get a 9 on the top and we end up with a 2 on the bottom. Now, because this does have a mixed number in it, you could answer however you want. So we could say the answer is 9/2, or we could say, well, let's see, 2 goes in there 4 times with 1 left over. So this would be 4 1/2. Okay? So either way would be just fine. Again, it's a story problem, so you kind of get to choose the best way to write the answer. Next one, 4/5 less than a number is 2 5/7. We're going to be doing some subtracting, but remember there's that word than. So we're going to take these and we're going to switch them. We're going to take the number and the 4/5 and we're going to switch them. So I'm going to say the number minus 4/5 is, and I'm going to go ahead and change that to an improper fraction. So 2 times 7 is 14, add 5, so that's going to be 19/7. So there's the equation. So you'd get credit for writing the equation. And then I'm just going to add 4/5 to both sides. So add 4/5 here, add 4/5 here. So those are going to cancel again. We wouldn't even really have to write that down there. So we end up with x is equal to, so let's see here, if we get a common denominator, this is going to be 30/5. Okay, and tell you what, I'm going to write this in blue. If you want to do this on your calculator, that would be just fine. So this is going to be 30/5 here. So we multiplied by 7, so that's going to be 28. If we multiplied by 5 here, so that's going to be 95. And then we add the two of those together, so that's going to be 123/35. So the answer would be 123/35. Or let's figure out what that would be as a mixed number. Let's see. That's going to go in there 3 times. So 3 times, let's turn this on here. 3 times 35 is 105. Yep. If we did 4 times 35, that's going to be 140. So that's a little too big. So let's see. That's going to go in 3 times. So what's left over? What's 123 minus the 105? Whoops. 105. So 18. So here's what we've got. It goes in 3 times with 18 left over. So this is going to be 3 and 18/35, and we can't do anything to reduce that, so we'd be finished right there. Again, a bit of a pain. In fact, it's almost easier when you know you just have to write it as an improper fraction. So if you want to do that, that's totally okay. Let's take a look at a couple of others. Let's see what we've got here. We've got number 9. The quotient of a number and 4.35 is 7.2. Quotient. Quotient means we're going to be dividing a number and 4.35. So the number I'm going to use is x. We're going to divide that by 4.35, and it is 7.2. Okay, so there we get credit for writing the equation, and then we're going to multiply both sides by 4.32. So 4.35. So 4.35 on both sides. So those are going to cancel. So we're going to get x equals, and then we'll rely on the calculator to get this for us. So we're going to do 7.2 times 4.35, 31.32, and you'll notice that stops at the hundredths place, so we can leave it just like that, 31.32. And because the problem has decimals, no problem writing the answer as a decimal. Alright, let's take a look at number 11, and then I think we've got one more to look at, and then we'll be done. Okay, number 11. A number decreased by 7.46. A number is decreased by 7.46. The resulting quantity is divided by 2, and the result is 15.93. What is the number? So let's say the number is x again, and it's going to be decreased by 7.46. Well, if we decrease something, then we subtract something from it. So we're going to subtract 7.46. The resulting quantity, so this entire quantity, all of that is divided by 2. So we wouldn't just do divide by 2 here. We're going to divide the entire thing by 2. And if we wanted to put that quantity in parentheses, that would be totally okay. And then it says the result is, or it equals 15.93. Okay, so there's our equation. We'd get some credit for doing that. And then we're going to multiply both sides by 2. Those are going to cancel, so we end up with x minus 7.46 equals, let's see what this is on the calculator, so 15.93 times 2. 31 point, close to the last one, so 31.86. So 31.86. And then we're going to add 7.46 to both sides, and we're going to end up with x is equal to, so we take that 31.86, or in other words, that last answer, and then we're going to add 7.46 to it. So we get 39.32. Again, close enough we don't have to do any rounding or anything like that. So 39.32, and there's our answer to that one. Okay. The next couple problems, you'll notice that they're more story problems. These were kind of just translating sentences into equations. These we've kind of got to think about what goes on here. So Ali had $22.64. She bought 18 markers and had $10.94 left. How much was each marker? So we've kind of got to think about how to do those. So I'm going to take a look at this last problem right here, this number 16. It says in September Shaylee spent or had some money in her bank account. So she had some money in her account. In October she earned $48.24 and put it in her account. So it looks like she put all of that in her account. In November she spent 3/4 of the money in her bank account on a dress. If she spent $68.28 on the dress, how much money did she have in her account in September? Okay, so she had some money in her account. We don't know how much she had in there. So let's use M for money in September. Okay. In October she earned some money and she put it in her account. So if she had this much money in September, in October she earned $48.24. So we would add that to the bank account. So this is how much she would have at the end of October. In November it said she spent 3/4 of the money in her account on a dress. So 3/4 of the money in her account on a dress. So 3/4 of, remember of means multiply, so she's going to spend 3/4 of that. So we're going to multiply it by 3/4, but not just the M, all of the money in her account, that entire quantity. So we really need parentheses on that one right there. And then it says if she spent that much on a dress, okay, $68.28, okay, so we've got that amount that she spent, 3/4 of the money in the account was how much she spent. That would be $68.28. So this is the equation that we want to solve. So we get credit for translating the information correctly, and then we want to go through and solve. So there are a couple different things that we can do here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to distribute. Okay, so this is going to give us 3/4 M, and then let's figure out what 3/4 of $48.24 is. So 3 divided by 4, and then we're going to times that by $48.24. So 36.18. So plus 36.18 equals 68.28. Whoops, 68.28. Okay, now we need to isolate that variable term. So we're going to subtract 36.18 from both sides. So 68.28 minus 36.18 is going to give us, okay, so $32.07. So it's $32.07. Got that typed in there the right way. Oh, wait just a minute. This should be 68.28. So 68.28 minus 36.18. Okay, so 32.1, or that's $32.10. Okay, so I'm going to write 3/4 M equals 32.1 or 0.10, and then we're going to get rid of that by multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, let's see what we got here, 4/3. Okay, those are going to cancel. Now, the good thing about this is a story problem, so if it doesn't work out nicely, we're just going to round and make it look good because we're talking about money here. So we're going to take 32.10 and we're going to times that by 4 divided by 3. 42.8. So 42.8. Let me double check and make sure we got that right. 42.8. Now this is an important point. This is a story problem. It says how much money did she have in her account? 42.8. Would we just write 42.8 and leave it at that? Or would we remember, hey, we're talking about money, we're talking about dollars and cents here. So the correct way to write this answer is to put a 0 on the end and then circle that. That's how much she had in September. That's how much she had in September. Okay, so some of these can be a little bit tricky. I'm hoping that as you practice these, you'll get the hang of it. These do take a lot of practice. There's 16 problems on the assignment, and we just did 4 of them, so you should be in pretty good shape.